This is Astrid. Welcome back to my channel. Tonight I am going to be reviewing a couple of VSTs that I have been tinkering around with here lately. The first one being Arcade. The next one is Pigments by Arturia. So I picked up both of these probably around the same time. Arcade, I hadn't even put any thought into it, but I ran across this gentleman's YouTube page. His name is Focus Music, and he has been going ham and eggs and cheese with this crazy ass arcade. So you guys, please check this guy out. He has been seriously putting in some serious workflow time with Arcade. So I just wanted to definitely send a shout out to Focus Music for that. He after watching a couple of his videos, he had me wanting to download it and check it out, and that's exactly what I did. So in doing so, I seriously was not thinking about this VST at all, but it is very useful. It's like a plethora of endless clips, is what it's like. It's almost like Splice on steroids, except it's more curated. And if you are familiar with Output is the same company that designed Exhale, Substance, Signal, and I can't even think of what the other damn thing is right now. But they're the ones that have spent all that work on that, all the most popular contact libraries out there. So of course they were going to spend some time and put focus on this VST as well. Now there are some things that I was a little kind of taken back on, like the ability to be able to kind of synchronize some of the drum sounds or drum loops. I was having a little bit of trouble with the synchronization between the VST and my DAW, and I've been working in Ableton with this one. But for the most part, all of the clips and other things that I found worked great. Kind of seamless, no big deal. So the great thing about this thing as well is it has like its own little built-in mixer, so you can add additional effects if you want. So you can pretty much tweak this thing to sound any kind of way that you want, which is really cool. If you had nothing else but just your straight up DAW in this, you could do a lot. It has a lot of flexibility from a sound perspective. If you're into that experimental music, you don't even have to be into experimental music with this thing. You could pretty much use it for anything. And then after spending more time with it, again, you know what I do. I'd always have to come up with a track or something to kind of showcase what I'm doing with the plugin. So I found this sound right here, and I'm really into piano sounds. So I found that, and I was like, okay, I like that. And then, of course, Arturia released Pigments, and yeah, I am like behind. I'm normally not the type of person that will just go out there and buy it every time I see there's a brand new something available, but I really am a synth junkie. If this stuff was only available in physical format, I would be in trouble, and that would be bad for me because I would be a hoarder, and that's not good. But when I saw this thing, and I was actually watching Mr. Different. I'm a big fan of Mr. Different. I really like the way that he makes his videos and for software reviews, because he was really thorough with this one. He kind of went through all the presets and the sounds and the things that you could do with it. So I want to send a shout out to him because we are watching. Just want to let you guys know that I learn about most of this stuff from other people as well, just like everybody else does. So I'm not being sponsored by any of these manufacturers. I'm actually buying this stuff with my own money. But when I saw this, and I'm actually already an Arturia owner. I actually own the Arturia Collection 6. So, but you know what's really funny? I never got an email notification saying that this thing was available, which is kind of interesting. Because normally when they have something new, they're like pounding down your email box with all kinds of advertisements for new stuff. But I didn't get one for this thing. But I went ahead and got it because it was at a completely reduced cost for owners of pre-existing Arturia software. And so far, I really like it. It's very flexible synth, and it has a lot of sound design capabilities. Look at all these LFOs that you can do. It's got 3 LFOs. Lots of envelopes, 3 envelopes, and oh goodness, it's just crazy. Look at this. Is velocities and you sound any sound design guys out there? You guys know what all this stuff is? I mean, I don't spend a whole bunch of time tinkering around with sound from a sound perspective. I will go through the library and find a sound that I like, and then if it needs tweaking, I either am tweaking it from a sonic perspective using effects, or if it's something that I just feel comfortable with from like a tweakability kind of standpoint, then I might get in there and tinker around with the LFOs. But trust me, I am no sound designer. So I'm just going to put that out there. And maybe one day I'll grow into that. But for right now, no. I'm just very selective about what I hear from a sound perspective. I'm looking for a specific type of sound. So me being that way, I really appreciate when libraries structure the browsing capabilities of the sounds by the type of sound that they are. And this does not do that. So, oh, you know what? Sorry. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Let me take that back. Sorry, Arturia. Okay, so when they have such a large bank of sounds, it's nice for me to be able to kind of go into the filtered area and look up sounds by the type of sound. So with this one, I chose a synth wave, and it's a reverse sound. Yes, I am heavy into the reverse sounds. I know. It's just something about a reverse sound. So I came up with that, and here's what that sounds like on the reverse sounds. Let me get to that. So I've got my reverse sound going in there with the pigments, and you know I had to do some other stuff. You know how I do. So I've got a sub in here, and I'm doing, you know what? Let me take that back. So my Heated Up 3 today is actually not a sub. Can you believe that? So in Heated Up 3 today, I'm using... Dun, 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 dun. I am using a bell sound called Onco Chino. Let me audition that one so you can hear what that sounds like. Oh, if it'll let me. Okay, where'd my sound go? Oh, probably need to take it out of that mode, right? All right, so here, and then we. So that's what I'm using with the Heated Up today. So you know, if you've watched my channel, that I'm real specific with Heated Up 3. I use a lot of bass sounds out of it, but today is a different day. And Heated Up 3 actually does have a ton of other sounds. It's just that me, I really like all of their bass sounds that they've created, the bass libraries. And I occasionally go through and I do find other things that I like. Their sounds are more focused on urban kind of music. So if you're looking for good basses or good bell sounds, flutes, synths, some kind, more urban kind of focused synths like West Coast sounding synths. So if you're looking for music, your sounds to sound like that, then Heated Up 3 will be for you. And then the next thing that I'm using is a Contact 5 player, and it is one of my Big Works Beats libraries, and it is the Unorthodox 808s. I, again, am a big Big Works Beats user, and I like their libraries because they're really focused on specific things. Like this library is all straight up sub bass, and I like the flexibility of their this particular sound library because it gives you control over the amps or the envelopes, and it has a glide where I can change the glide settings. I can add more distortion, but with this sound, I'm doing all my bass with this one. So let me just play part of that. So it's all straight up sub. And this song is a little different than norm. So I decided to go more subdued with the drums in this one. So I don't have a snare. I only have hand claps. And I'm using like a bass, or I'm using the Heated Up 3 as my bass or my sub. And then I'm using like a kick drum for like basic bottom kick. So it's a real kind of chill kind of trap song. Let's see, what other sound am I using? Oh, I decided to tinker around a little bit more with Serato. And with Serato, I am doing a reverse sound as well. So I've got a reverse sample in here playing. Let's see. Okay, so that's all it's doing. It's just playing a reverse sound. And I only am doing that just to get the kind of that mid to high frequency kind of sweeping sound that the reverse makes. So that's what I'm doing with that. And then, of course, I got my MPC in there. It's doing the claps, and I've got a kick going. I also have... Oh, let's see. What is that? Oh, some hi-hats in there. So I've got like actually, right now I don't have it in there. I'll have to fix that later. There was a hi-hat sound in there. And then I've got, I got a tag. I had to get a music tag, so I've added my tag in there. Then I've got the Falcon, and from the Falcon, I am using the UVS 3200. And it is doing, I believe, just kind of a pad sound. Let me see what that's doing. Oh, where are you, Falcon? So it's doing a secondary. So I also have it layered with the Sound Toys crystallizer. So that's the true sound is this. So it's very flat. So again, what I normally like to do with sounds, if I'm hearing something else, I'll experiment with like effects like the crystallizer, or like, the Echo Boy. I've been like really overusing that really. But I like to experiment with those types of effects. I'm starting to get a little bit more into using effects for to enhance the sound of things, and as my ears are getting a little bit better with mixing. And I think with my speaker upgrade this year, I'm starting to really hear a difference in my mixes. I made some adjustments to my panels in here in my studio, and I have noticed a big difference in the overall sound quality that I'm getting from my mixes, because I can actually hear what I'm doing now. And I kind of recommend that for you as well. If you're having trouble with your mixes, and if you're like not liking your speakers, I would recommend probably the first thing I would do is look at you getting some basic acoustic treatment for like the corners, the back of the back wall where your sit position is, and the ceiling, and the floor. If your floor is not covered, you probably want to do a little bit of something there. It doesn't have to be carpet. It could be something thick. I use like this big, huge rubber mat to prevent some of the bounce around. And probably the front or the wall behind the speakers as well is important. I have space limitations in my room, so I had to like kind of work around the space that I had in here to try to reduce some of the reflections, and that's really what you're fighting is sound reflection. And it makes a big difference, especially in the corners. The corners you don't really think about from a sound perspective, or you don't really think about it, period, when you're mixing, but it makes a big difference because a lot of the sound gets trapped in the corners. And it could actually make really expensive speakers sound really crappy when you have a lot of bouncing frequency off of the walls in your room. So yes, definitely I recommend that you spend a little bit of time, and you don't have to spend a lot of money. You can build your panels. There's tons of YouTube videos out there that will show you how to do it. You just basic Home Depot materials or whatever home improvement store that you have in your neighborhood. You can build some basic corner traps, some basic wall panels, and really help kind of suppress some of the bounce, because you're not going to be really treating your room for like sound suppression. You're treating the room for reflection suppression. And that's a really common misconception about acoustic sound design or acoustics of a room, because the only way that you could actually really remove the sound from a room is from a construction level change, because the way that rooms are designed to reduce sound from outside or from inside to get outside is through construction level methods. And for us small producers who can't afford that, we are always going to be fighting just trying to reduce some of the sound reflections. So that's my little 2 pennies in reference to acoustics. It really does help, especially if you're shopping for speakers, because I was looking for speakers for a really long time, and it seemed like I couldn't find anything that worked, but I was really going about it the wrong way. But I finally settled on the Focal Alpha 80s, because of the tweeter and how it images. So you get really good balance of highs and mids, even though there is no mids. There's imaginary mids because it's more bass. It has like an 8-inch sub, and it has a ported front. And that was the thing that I really liked about this particular pair of speakers. Because I'm in a really small room, I really don't want a speaker that has a port out the back because it makes the sound reflections even worse. Now I do have like a secondary pair of JBL 305Ps, and they are ported out the back, but they are my secondary pair that I use for difference checking. And I'm a real big Dave Pensato fan, and that's what he does. He has like a ton of speakers all over the room. A huge pair that has like these mega subwoofers in them, and then a medium pair that has more mid-range speakers. But I wasn't trying to do that. Trust me, I was trying to get a pair that actually would work with my room, and that's really what you have to do as well. The JBLs are probably a really good pair by themselves, but in a really good treated room, they probably sound even better. I use them for mids and highs, and determining if I'm using too much bass in my mix, because I can hear the difference when there's too much bass in those speakers. Now, I can't tell what the hell is going on from a bass perspective with my focals because of the room. And I had to train my ears to not submerge my mixes in bass. And I'm not always successful at it. It's a work in progress, and I think I probably need to focus some more on doing a little bit more acoustic reflection suppression in my room, maybe on the side walls of where my speakers are, to kind of reduce more of the bass bounce, because I get a lot of bass bounce in here from those focals. So that's maybe needs to be a whole other video where I talk about sound, because it's such a big thing being able to hear your mix. If you're not hearing your music from a full perspective, and that's what mixing is. It's not just individually mixing something. It's how everything sounds together. So when you can actually hear all of the individual pieces and they all blend together, that's what your overall thing is. The thing I've been chasing lately is with my mixes is that sparkle that you hear when you're listening to these albums, and that's a whole other discussion. But that is like the thing I've been chasing here lately, that sparkle that you hear. It's like a little bit of a sparkle. It's like I'll have to pick out some music for you guys to listen to that will be an example of what I'm talking about, where you hear in the mix, there's like just something about the mix that's got like a little bit of a tonality to it that's very unique to the recording, and it's not necessarily within the instrumentation that's causing it. It's how it was actually mixed and mastered that makes it sound that way. Again, I may have to do a video about that, where I just have a full discussion talking about speakers and acoustics and mixing and that kind of stuff, because that really interests me too. And it may help somebody, especially if you're looking for speakers and trying to understand what it is you're looking for and how to chop for a speaker. I may be able to give you some tips and tricks on what you can look for from a speaker perspective. I may have to do something like that. But anyway, okay, so I have the Falcon in there, and I've got this another contact player. What is this other contact player? I get to talking and just lose all my train of thought. Okay, so I've got, oh, it's a Vox. So again, it's my Big Works Beats collection, and it's the Key Vocals 2, which just came out, ooh, probably a couple months ago. I've had it ever since then, so I will pull things from the little vocal clips and add things to it just to give it a little bit of flavor. Okay, so let me go ahead and play this, and it looks like I am missing a sample, so that means I'm gonna have to go back and dig and figure out where the hell I got that from. And it more than likely it's from Splice. I've been like digging into Splice quite a bit lately, just looking for stuff, just trying to add more of a kind of a different feel to some of my music without me playing everything. Because up until recently, I was playing absolutely every piece of everything in all of my music. But I figured, you know, as long as the samples are cleared, it should be just fine. So that's kind of what I'm doing right now. I'm just experimenting as usual, doing something different and having fun doing it. So I'm just going to go ahead and play this and let you hear what I've got. That's if it'll let me play it. And if I will take it out of that mode. What I've got with that one. I think I know where the sound is. That's bothering me now that I can't find it. Yep, that's what it was. Strange that didn't get. I'll have to add that back in there. Okay, so that's what it sounds like with the hi-hats. Okay, so, well, that's all I've got. Please comment. I look forward to hearing from you guys. And like if you do. And subscribe. I have a lot more content coming. I'm working on my next music clips or video clips. And it's taking a while, guys. I have a lot of stuff going on. Trying to do 3 clips at the same time. It's kind of rough. But they are coming, I promise you. Well, that's all I have, and I will see you guys later. Peace.